here's the thing. I think most people don't know what a healthy poop is, looks like, or is, or how often, or like all those things, you know? So I think it's a good thing to learn for yourself.
Welcome back to the Christian Women's Health Collective podcast. I am so glad you're here today because we are really just letting it all hang out. Today we are going to be talking to you about things that give us gas. Well, foods that give us gas specifically. And we feel like this is going to be a pretty fun episode and a lot of funny stories coming your way. I will go last because I usually close out the podcast, and I will turn it on over to Miss Julie.
I don't need to go first.
You're the one with the book.
Oh, I do. I have this.
Show us your book.
A noisy fartsy guide. The batteries run out, or I would play some farts for you, but
Oh man,
it's run out. But it's all the blowout paddle. It's all these different games. The super tutor. Nothing makes me laugh more than the poopy list. There is a list. It's called the poopy list. If you've not ever seen it, you have to look it up. But it cracks me up because it's things like the way you go poop, and you know your poop is based by your health. So that's one way I knew I was not healthy, because my poop was not there. I didn't have good doo-doo. So yes, it's called the poopy list. Anyway, it's hard to read because every line I just laugh hysterically. Have y'all heard of it?
No. But now I want to read it.
Oh, I know. It's like a ghost poopy. It's like when you go poopy and then you wipe, but there's nothing there.
That's the ideal poop.
It's the ghost poopy. And then there's like the plump diver, the poopy that you let go and then it splashes in the water and it touches your butt cheeks. Anyway, you'll have to look it up. There's several different ones, so make sure to find the original poopy list.
For all the little whispers that you guys hear in the background on this podcast, my husband is commentating on in the back. He's like, I hate those.
It's
No.
hilarious. Well, so I struggle pooping. I have always struggled my whole life. I have had like diet changes. So I grew up processed on all processed foods. Basically, that was my diet. And I thought that it was healthy because Hamburger Helper would say all natural, or I mean, that's awful to say, but it's just the truth, you know. And it had hamburger meat in it and cheese and milk. That was healthy. But that was so bad on my digestion and for so long. And believe it or not, going from awful to a cleaner eating, you know, which my way of cleaner eating was the perimeter of the grocery store, is what I would say, the perimeter of the grocery store, and trying, you know, to eat less box foods. But it affected my digestion, and it was easy to say, oh, I don't need to eat clean, it's making me sick, you know. That's really what I wanted to say. And I hear people say it, that, you know, talking about it now, I hear people say that. But I think really it's the transition. And so coming to a clean side of eating, I can tell this is going to be so, we're talking about poop. But one of the first things that we did is we started taking Juice Plus supplements that kind of jump tracked our nutritional habits. And when we started taking them, I knew that I had made the right choice when I had slick poopy. It was, it's awful to say, isn't it? But it's health, right? So that was like, okay, there's a change in it. And then when I started eating healthy and my health changed, it was like, I would run into the living room, I'd be like, Ken, I've been pooping. Because I would be so excited, you know, just because I was actually going to the bathroom normal. So my health journey kicked off, you know, an investigation to poop and farts. I just think they're the best thing in the world. So if you have a fart, it's great. I shouldn't even say that word. A fluff is what I used to call it when I had kids. But I call them wasted because my husband can't smell, and I'm like, dang it. So depressing. embarrassing to me.
Oh my goodness.
But it's a relief to get it out and not hold it in. So I say that. But yeah, so my health journey has really changed the way that I go to the bathroom or have gas. And I love it because it's been a scientific proven fact to me that my health changes how I go to the bathroom and how I poop.
That's awesome, Julie.
You're a little too much, but I don't know.
No, I don't think it's TMI.
It's
I
a
think,
health podcast. Let's talk
yeah,
about it.
and here's the thing. I think most people don't know what a healthy poop looks
Yeah.
like, or is, or how often, or like all those things, you know? So I think it's a good thing to learn for yourself and what's healthy and what's normal and what's not normal and this kind of thing. Obviously, normal. I say that in parentheses because everybody's normal is slightly different, but you know, there's something to be said for having a regulated bowel that works well. Because when it isn't, boy, is it uncomfortable and it's not good. So, which brings me to my, you know, I don't know. Let's talk about farts. Some more. So when I was younger, we used to call it a proot, and I forget if that's like Russian or something for fart, but I don't know. Anyways, a proot, a toot, a fart. Anyway, doesn't matter. I used to have a lot of gas before I started fasting, and I had a lot of gut issues, a ton actually, horrible gut issues, um, most of my life. But when I started fasting, it took me a while to realize that I was not having any gas. And when I realized that I hadn't farted in like days, I was like, okay, this is weird. Is this what normal people like are like? Like they don't have gas all the time, you know? And it's true. Like if your gut's working well, then you don't have that overabundance of bacteria down there creating all that gas and making you gassy and tooty. And so now when I have gas, I know that it's because of something that I've eaten. And so now I know what causes me gas and bloating and what doesn't. And so I don't eat gluten for that's part of the reason because it tears up my gut, gives me gas, mostly because it gives me migraines. It causes a bunch of inflammation in my body and gives me rashes and I don't feel well and yada yada. Anyways, I go on and on. So I don't eat that because it causes that. And the same thing with dairy, which is funny because I think a lot of people don't want to go off of dairy, but once you do, you will be surprised how much fewer tooths you actually have because dairy gives people gas. It is very gassy. And the one I had been off of dairy for I don't know over a year, and one time I ate cheese and we were on vacation and that was a mistake because then I was up all night with the worst gas pains of my entire life. I thought I was dying. It felt like someone was twisting my guts up inside my body and it was the worst. It was the most pain I've ever been in and I've had 2 kids. It was horrible. So I will not eat cheese for that reason. I will not. Because it gives me horrible gas and, you know, not good stools and situations. So that's not good. Other things that give me gas that I don't eat very often are cruciferous vegetables and also recently dried fruit. I ate a few too many dried apricots and that was so much gas it was unreal. So dried fruit can't help you if you're constipated, but it can also give you really a lot of gas because it contains a lot of fiber, a lot of fuel, which means a lot of fuel for the bacteria in your guts to produce all of that methane that causes the gas that comes out of your system. So be careful with that. Everything in moderation. Don't eat an entire bag of dried apricots. That was a mistake. So learn from my mistake. You will be up all night with tooths. Maybe the next day too. And thirdly, when I'm fasting, if I drink a sparkling water, I will have tooths because the bubbles just go right through me, which which is funny. And a lot of people don't know that about fasting, because a lot at flexible fasting, we talk a lot about different fasting fuels that you can have. And a lot of people like to drink sparkling water, because as long as it doesn't have anything in it, it's just sparkling water. Um, because it's something fun and different from just drinking water all the time. But when you have nothing else in your stomach and you're fasting, like overnight and stuff, and you're doing a sparkling water, the bubbles will go right through you. So yeah, there's my 2 cents. So sometimes tooting can be normal if you've overeaten fiber, like dried fruit. Sometimes it can be abnormal if you're eating something that is irritating and inflaming your stomach, like dairy or gluten. So that's my toot story.
Oh my. So I guess I would start with, you mentioned, a lot of people don't know how many times or how many bowel movements they should have in a day. So, there are people that don't have them for a week or more, and that is not healthy. At least once a day, and possibly as much as each time that you eat. So you should be pretty regular. You should be getting rid of that, because it is toxic. It's toxins in your body. And I would go back to, when you're talking about what gives you gas. I was thinking about that, because when I first started in my journey, yes, there were certain foods and whatnot that would create gas. And I did have, issues with my gut, and there was a lot of gut healing that went on. But now I don't have as many, fruits or vegetables. Even cruciferous vegetables do not seem to bother me. Garlic, onions are my favorite. I could have them at every meal. And so I don't have a lot of those, but I do note that when I go out to eat, and I try not to eat out a lot, but that's when the seed oils come in. And seed oils will cause issues with my gut, and will cause bloating, could cause gas, and dairy. Dairy is another one for me that can cause issues. I believe I have noted, though, that harder cheeses or raw cheeses, that are not pasteurized and whatnot, I don't have as much issue with. And gluten, I do have a slight intolerance to gluten. I do have the SNPs for that. So, I do have issues with that, and can have some, gas from that. So that would be, I guess, what I would say. I mean, I even had dogs that would sit in the kitchen, not two big black labs that would sit in the kitchen, and whenever I cut cruciferous vegetables, they'd be right there asking for them. So I'd be dropping broccoli and cauliflower to them, and they'd be like, yeah. So anyway, just saying. How about you, Leigh Ann?
Well, so yeah, I have a cruciferous story that I just told the girls right before we jumped on here to do this podcast, which I think led into us talking about this. Cruciferous vegetables and I don't get along. I don't eat vegetables at all. If you've been following us for any amount of time, you know that I'm pretty carnivore, although I have been playing around with some fruit. And I've had some nuts. So most vegetables will irritate my stomach, but cruciferous vegetables in particular and I are not friends at all. And a few years ago, my husband and I were asleep, and in the middle of the night, after eating probably Brussels sprouts, I'm not sure, those were my favorites, I woke up because of a toot, and it was horrifically odorous. And my husband shot straight up in bed. I woke him up. And that's when I really started experimenting with not eating vegetables much anymore. And so as I've continued to, play around with what foods work for me and what foods don't, recently we experimented with some Mexican food, and he's experimented with some spaghetti sauces and things like that, and tomatoes and I don't get along either. It's not that bad, but it is bad enough that it will cause me a lot of cramping and discomfort, and it takes a couple of days for me to feel better. So I do better when I'm not eating vegetables at all, and I think that that's okay. I've done so much research on carnivore, and I also, when I'm eating strict carnivore and not having any coffee or tea or anything like that, will go a day. Usually, it'll be every other day when I go to the bathroom and have a bowel movement. But I'm a once a day kind of girl with that. But another thing that I've realized makes me gassy now is if I eat too many almonds. Nuts will create gas for me. I don't have a dairy intolerance. The gluten will cause me inflammation in my joints, but that's really the worst of it for me. But yeah, not too many almonds will give me a hard time. So that is it. But yeah, you won't catch me dead eating a cruciferous vegetable. They scare me. They scare me bad. They cause me a lot of pain, and they cause my husband a lot of pain. So so yeah, that's our gas story. We would love to know what foods that you have tried that make you gassy. We wanted this episode to be super fun and just something a little different with some education in there too. And if you've got some good fart stories, please let us know in the comments below. We would love to share with you and be shared with, so that we're not the only ones talking about toots, poots, and farts tonight. And until next week, we would love it if you would
like it,
share it, subscribe,
and hit that notification bell so that you get notified every single time we have a new podcast. Also, be sure to check out our membership group. Go to ChristianWomen'sHealthCollective.com, join the collective, and get in on where the real action happens, because we are ramping up for this year in 2023. We got a lot of really good stuff coming. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.